How is the American dream portrayed in your life?
Well, um, I guess just the fact that everybody had an opportunity to get some sort of education and find work in the workplace. I grew up in the 50s and 60s, and it seemed like no one really had difficulty finding a job once they either got out of high school or college. Um, I guess that's about it.
Um,
Opportunity.
was the American dream achievable?
Well, I think it was achievable, but I think it also depended on the vision that your family put forth. I grew up in a um, kind of lower, very lower middle class family, and none of them had graduated from high school, so the goal seemed to be for me to graduate high school. So there really wasn't any concept of going to college because it seemed like there probably wasn't going to be money for that, but there was no concept or understanding that there were ways of getting around that. Because when I grew up, you could go to Towson Teachers College and the state would pay for your tuition if you agreed to teach so many years afterwards. And the same thing with nursing programs, but my family did not have any concept of that at the time. So I think it was achievable on a higher level if there had been more understanding of what was available. So in my life, I finished high school, took some college courses, and ended up working in businesses for all of my working life and working for a decent company and making decent money and living better than my parents did. Everybody expected to be able to live at a higher level than their parents did, and in most of my acquaintances that occurred. And I know that's not necessarily true today.
Okay. Who were the idols then?
Hmm. Well, I don't know about idols. I guess President Eisenhower, um, when I was really young. We had celebrities too, so John Wayne was big, Rock Hudson, um, people like that. But I guess more so people in the political realm would be heroes. Um, that's all I could think of at this point.
Did the division between old money and new money exist?
Well, I think that exists throughout history, and like I said, I lived in a more lower income level, and um, there were people who owned a little town that I lived in, who lived close by, who had, you know, more money than we did, and there was another family, but um, I guess some of that was actually new money. The people who owned the rental houses were immigrants at one point, and then made money in the fur industry, so I think they would have been considered new money. Um, did not know anybody personally who would have been considered old money. Um, really wasn't something that I even thought about growing up. Um, I guess that's about it on that.
Um, what were the morals and values of the time?
Well, I'm sure you won't be surprised to know that I think that the morals back then were much um, more healthy than they are now. Most families stayed together. All the children that I knew growing up had a mom and dad in the household, even if they were the working poor. And you could consider that I lived in a poor area, like I said, but everybody worked and there was income, and people would have probably lived better if alcohol wasn't a part of that mix too, because most of the dads worked blue collar work, so it wasn't unusual for them to stop at the bar on the way home and to relax, I guess, after a hard day's work. Um, so, and there were very few what you would consider single moms at that time. If girls got pregnant, then they and the young man got married. If that didn't happen, the girl and the child stayed within the nuclear group, and that child was raised in a nuclear family. Welfare was not known or used that much. I do know some people who, because of situations, may have gotten assistance, but that was not the norm back then. Families stuck together and worked through problems, and in this day and age it would not be considered ideal, but it created a safe haven for children to grow up in. But like I say, it was rare to have single moms, and like I say, it was a more healthy atmosphere, I think, for children. Today's children are very much at risk. So.